з'єднує. Таке зібрання, як Давоський форум, існує, бо всі ми внутрішньо впевнені, що немає такої глобальної проблеми, яку людство не може вирішити.
And it is all the more important right now when Russia's aggression in Europe makes various challenges facing the world and wraps them into one large-scale crisis. We are facing a threat of a collapse of the world as we know it, the way that we are accustomed to it, or to what we aspire. What can be life in a world where tanks are allowed to strike at nuclear power stations? What will happen to inflation when state borders start to collapse and the integrity of countries will be trampled on by those who want it? What will happen to the cost of living when millions, not millions, but tens of millions of people will be forced to flee mass starvation and will become refugees? How does the world want to achieve climate neutrality if so far it hasn't even stopped the burning of entire cities in Ukraine? This is what Russia is doing with its artillery, with its missiles, with its Iranian drones. And you know that the Russian aggression was never intended to restrict itself to the Ukrainian borders. This war can go further and it make crises wider if the aggressor does not lose. In other words, if the sum of our influence does not outweigh the aggression. Ladies and gentlemen, my husband, the President of Ukraine, when he addressed the leaders of 19 states who are economically the most powerful, offered them unto the whole world a formula about how we can become the most powerful in peacekeeping. Unto the whole world a formula about how we can become the most powerful in peacekeeping. It's a 10-point plan. It's 10 points about how we outweigh the Russian aggression and how we prevent existing regional and global crises from converging into one full-scale, full-on global crisis. I want to emphasize that these points are not purely political. Each one of them has a tangible human dimension. This is the dimension of parents who are crying in an ICU where doctors are trying to fight for the life of their wounded child. Or a boy whose family was shot by the occupiers as they were trying to evacuate. This is the dimension of farmers who are afraid to go back to their fields because the mines have been scattered all over these fields by the occupiers. This is the dimension of people who have lost their homes and are forced to seek shelter wherever they can be accepted. I ask you to look at the need to stop this aggression exactly like this, with the eyes of the people whose lives have been brought into chaos by the aggressor country. When we talk about the peace formula, when we talk about radiation and nuclear safety, what we mean is that we cannot allow a new Chernobyl to happen. We do not want children somewhere in the world to be forced to learn how to protect themselves from radiation disease. When in the peace formula we talk about food security, what we mean is that there's a right to food that every human being has, and it's an